Greg Ehrenberg here from Awesemo.com. We're talking about Wednesday night's MLB slate, going through the best tournament plays of the day. This is for DraftKings. Like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and shout out to Prize Picks, the sponsor of today's show. If you guys are signing up at Prize Picks for the first time, use the promo code Awesemo because you get up to a $100 bonus on your first deposit. Really good way to help start building that bankroll. But here are my favorite ways to build some tournament lineups for the Wednesday night slate. Starting with a stack I really like, the Milwaukee Brewers going up against Kyle Hendricks. Now, there was a point in time where Kyle Hendricks was one of the better pitchers in baseball, and he never did it with flash. He was never generating a lot of strikeouts. There was never a lot of swing and misses, but he was just a guy who generated a lot of soft contact, hardly walked anybody. And it's just been a different case for him this year. And I think one thing that's really hurt Hendricks as he's gotten older is his already not great fastball velocity. It's starting to downtick even more. Now we've gotten to a point where he's throwing 87.2 miles per hour. That's his average fastball velocity. It's just not enough stuff to get out big league hitters. So this is now resulting in a 5.2 ERA for Kyle Hendricks, 5.43 expected ERA, 5.64 FIP. These are all really bad numbers. And then also from a fantasy perspective, his ground ball rate is a career low. His homer to fly ball rate is close to a career high. So he's giving up a lot more home runs than we normally see. And this is a team in the Milwaukee Brewers. They've one of the best ISOs against right-handed pitching, actually second highest in all of baseball. So I think this is a good team to really attack Kyle Hendricks with. His pitching profile just doesn't look great at this point in his career. A lot of power in the Brewers offense. Guys like Christian Yelich and Rowdy Tellez, I think they make for a good contrarian stack. The next team that I like getting to, it's Chicago White Sox going up against Hyun-Jin Ryu. And a pitcher kind of similar to Kyle Hendricks has never really been a super high strikeout guy, but always got by, particularly when he's with the Dodgers, with just limiting hard contact. And now he's gotten older. The fastball velocity has dipped for the third consecutive season. And once again, it's leading to struggles for Hyun-Jin Ryu, similarly to Kyle Hendricks. 5.48 ERA for Ryu, 4.97 expected ERA. So the underlying numbers aren't any good, but neither are the actual run prevention numbers. And I know the White Sox offense has really disappointed this year. It was expected to be one of the best offenses in baseball, and that hasn't been the case. Injuries have certainly played a role. But if you do look at the numbers, a lot of the struggles for Chicago come against right-handed pitching. Against lefties, they've still fared pretty well. So against left-handed pitching, the White Sox have a 120 WRC+. That is the third best mark in all of the MLB. So I do think that when we're looking at the White Sox, they are much more favorable team to target against left-handed pitching than right-handed pitching. So that's another contrarian stack I like. The White Sox, Brewers, I think these are good teams to get to at lower ownership for tonight's slate. Moving on over to the pitchers, I do think there's a couple pitchers we could target for some diminished ownership. Starting with my guy, Tarik Skubal. If you guys watch the live before lock shows that I do with Eric, him and I are on Skubal fairly regularly, certainly more than the field normally is. And I don't know that there's been too many slates he's been popular this year, maybe a couple of them. But looking back in hindsight, he really should have been popular on a lot more of these slates. If you look at his last 8 starts, he's allowed 3 or less earned runs in 7 of them. And 5 of those starts, he allowed 0 earned runs. So Skubal has been really good, not just from a real life standpoint, but also from a fantasy standpoint. He generates a lot of strikeouts, 27.1% K rate, and he's done this while limiting his walk rate. So something that's transformed Skubal to a really high variance DFS pitcher, to somebody who's just been consistently good, has been a decrease in walks, because that used to be an issue for him in the past. But this year, only a 4.4% walk rate. But it's really impressive that he's been able to limit the walks while also keeping the strikeouts up. So these are all things that have made Skubal into a really strong, both starting pitcher for real life fantasy, but also for real life, but for fantasy purposes as well. And then you look at some of our data in the top pitchers tool, he's only projected for 10% ownership, but he's an 18% chance to be one of the top 2 scoring pitchers on the slate. So Skubal, I think he's a pay-up option that we could go to get a little bit different on today's slate. But I also have a contrarian spend-down option here, and that's Garrett Whitlock. I love the matchup he has against the Cincinnati Reds. The Reds, probably the worst team in baseball, certainly one of the worst offenses in baseball. 85 WRC plus against right-handed pitching, also a 24.2% K rate. So one of the higher strikeout rates and one of the lower WRC pluses. This is one of the easiest matchups possible. And Garrett Whitlock is a really talented young pitcher, as is the results with a lot of young pitchers. It tends to be a little erratic at times. But one thing that I really take away as a positive from Whitlock, he went 6 innings into the last start. That's the longest the Red Sox have allowed him to go all year. So it looks like as he's getting more acclimated to pitching at the big league level, Boston is a little more open to letting him work deep into games. That's great for his upside. And overall, if you look at the numbers we have for Whitlock today, 22.7% chance to be one of the top 2 value pitchers on the slate, so one of the best marks on the slate. but also he only has ownership in the team. So in the team, so fairly low owned. So I think that's a really good guy to get behind. So to recap here, 2 contrarian stacks, the Milwaukee Brewers and the Chicago White Sox, and then 2 contrarian pitcher choices as well for tournaments. Tyreek Skubal is a spend up, Garrett Whitlock to save salary. That is going to do it for me today over on DraftKings. I've got a FanDuel video coming out as well. Like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and good luck tonight, everybody.